I'm going to put together a PowerPoint presentation. And it was Mr. Peter. No, he's my sponsor, and he said, Dr. Harmon, we need to do a doctor and science call. And we need to do a Zoom. We have to go online. They won't let us go meet with people. It's March 2020, April 2020. So I put together my first PowerPoint presentation, and over a period of 3 years, I did two different ones. And I did one about the X39. I did one about glutathione and one about Alavita. And then I had such profound shifts in my heart health that you're going to find out about. That's when I decided to write the book. So I'm going to go ahead and share my slides and get started. And I hope this this knowledge that you gain tonight gives you more authenticity, because we all know about the testimonials, but if you can pair that with a little bit of science, you don't have to be a doctor or a researcher, scientist, but if you can get a couple of bullet points from each, what it could do for each organ system, this is what happens. So when that doctor says, well, what would it do for cardiovascular disease? And you actually have two bullet points, guess what? You're still in the conversation. If you don't have those, conversation is over. The doctor lost confidence in your ability to answer his or her questions. So that's been my whole focus in doing these PowerPoints and writing the books, is to give everybody that, that meat, so that they don't have to go do the research, but you can have a couple of points to talk about. All right, let's let the show begin. All right. Well, I am here with you today with a very urgent message. There are things that are happening to every single person on this call, in your family, in your city, in your country, that are causing us to age faster and die younger. And yes, we're going to be talking about those things like this that, they cause us to go through the kind of accepted slide into frailty and disability called aging. But for the most part, we're going to be talking about how to reverse aging with GHK copper peptide. That's what the CU stands for. I'm not just talking about going from fast aging to slow aging either. I'm talking about age reversal. She mentioned the book. This was the first book I wrote. It was released 2 years ago in last August. And it's the comprehensive guide to copper peptides. I mentioned the AHK and the GHK copper peptide. There are 18 chapters. There are 91 references to the literature. Everything I'm talking about tonight is taken from this book, but everything in the book is taken from the literature. Nothing I'm telling you tonight is my opinion. I'm not making any recommendations for treatment for any diseases or disorders or anything, any such thing like that. What I'm doing is I'm giving you what is known in the literature about the properties and power of this peptide in our body. Our body makes it, but it declines as we age. Our ability to make it declines as we age, and then we start to age faster. The second book I wrote is about the peptide that gets elevated in the blood when you wear the Alavita. We're not going to be talking about this tonight. Maybe that's another topic for another day. Those QR codes, if you live in the US, you can go out and scan the code and you can get an autographed copy of either one of the books. If you live outside of the country, probably the best bet would be to go through Amazon, because it's on Amazon everywhere. I'm only going to read one thing, and it's this. It's an excerpt from page 275. The use of copper peptides can be likened to turning a key and unlocking a realm of possibilities where aging is no longer considered an inevitable decline, but a continuation of life with sustained health and vitality. It suggests a future where aging gracefully isn't just about managing our normal decline, but about thriving well into our golden years and enjoying our maintained state of health and life experience. I put this page on here because I did a screen capture of the page in PubMed, National Institute of Health, where it gives all of the different research papers that have been written about the GHK and all of the experiments and the research that's been done. And this was the first one I used, and you can see right here, it's page 1 of 13. So back then, 4 years ago, there were 13 pages, and here's the page today, page 1 of 15. Been 2 more pages just in the last 3 years, 2 more pages of research done on this. And I'm going to go back here to show you. So this was, you can see right here, 1977 is when the research started, and I did this in 2023, so it was about 2.5 years ago. And then this was still, that's when it started, 2025. This graph, this slide kind of explains what we're talking about. Over here, functional capacity, this is time. And we see we start with, we got robust, we're working out, we're eating properly, we got vim and vigor, we got it going on. And then something happens and kicks us down a couple of notches. It's what happens right here that determines if we get back up to robustness, isn't it? If we don't get up to here, we've kind of recovered and we go along in life and something happens and now it takes us down lower. And now we're starting to get into trouble. And then our recover, what happens down here determines how high I get. Now I don't recover even up to pre-frailty. And now something happens, and now I'm down into dependence and disability. This does not have to be your life. We're going to take a couple of minutes and just think about life in general, goals. We all make goals, even if it's make a sandwich. That's a goal. It's not a very elegant goal, but I still have to make a plan and do it. But we make goals about marriage, how many kids we're going to have, job. I've always told my kids, through your life, your youth, find out what it is you love to do, and then figure out a way to make a living at it. Then it's not work. You're going to play. So what are your job? What brings you passion, joy, long-term goal for a job? Am I going to be somebody who works out? What's my diet like? Am I going to be someone who eats junk food? Or what am I going to eat? And then I want to ask you, have you thought about what it will look like for you in your old age? And here's what I know for sure from studying the mind. If you can't define it, if you can't write it down, you cannot have it. You have to write it down and you have to define what it looks like. That's what I want to do today. I want to spark some new areas of your brain for some neuroplasticity and form new neurons to actually think about these things. So each one of these slides has a little bit of a pause on it intentionally because I really want to have you take a moment to ponder about these questions. Your future self awaits. Design your older years. What will I be like when I'm old in age? Will I even remember who I am? Will I be meeting a new person in my house every 15 minutes? Who's my partner? Will I be able to travel? Will I be hooked up to machines? Will my joints hurt without pain? Will I be dependent on someone else for my care? Or will I be independent and able to take care of myself? Will I be a passive observer in my own decline? Or will I be an active participant avoiding that decline? Which do you choose? What are the destructive mechanisms that cause our bodies to age faster? Can we do anything about those things? There are many things that are beyond our control, and we don't have influence over those. Those could be, a number of different things. We are going to discover and focus on the things we can influence. Why do we age faster? What are the actual mechanisms that cause some people to age faster, look much older than their age, and die prematurely? I went to my 50-year high school reunion 3 years ago, and there were people there that looked like they could have been my dad. Here are the top causes of early death. Number one, mitochondrial dysfunction. Telomere shortening. If you don't know what the telomeres are, think end of our genes. Right here, we have a cap on them, and they're basically holding our genes together. They don't look like this as a diagram, but healthy telomeres are long. Aging telomeres are short. You can go to a lab and ask them to measure your telomeres. They can give you a general idea of how much longer you have to live according to the length of those. So the telomeres are at the end, and they hold everything in place. And then when a cell has to divide, the genes have to come apart, come back together, and each time that happens, we lose a little length right here. So the shorter they are, the shorter your life. Another diagram right here. Genomic instability. Genes are damaged and can't do their job. There are a number of things that cause that. Here's what can influence those: radiation, chemicals, sometimes just eating our food. And here in the United States that had glyphosate in it. Hope you don't have it in Australia. Metabolic processes. Wait a second. The normal processes in my body can cause gene mutations? We're going to talk about that. Harmful things in the world or in your body can all damage the genes, and then the cell eventually dies. What does the research say about GHK and how it affects our telomeres and our genes? The GHK copper peptide resets about a third of our genes, 4,200 of our genes, to a younger state. This has to do with repairing the damage that has occurred to them through life. So it also protects genes against sun damage, radiation, and chemicals. And the GHK copper peptide helps to lengthen our telomeres. So here's the effect on genes. We have normal genes, normal expression. By the way, each gene has 2,600 different ways that it can express itself. And those things are influenced by diet, thought, prayer, meditation, energetic medicine. Those genes can be altered in their expression. Altered genes, altered expression. Here comes the GHK copper peptide, resets genes to a younger state, normal expression. Younger you. Remember, that's one of the main topics of this presentation is age reversal. Okay, next topic, mitochondrial dysfunction. I jumped the gun before. These are the powerhouses of the cells. Cells have a lot of mitochondria. Muscle cells can have thousands of them, whereas other cells don't have as many. But here's what happens. If we have mitochondrial dysfunction, we're going to have low energy production. So this is the older person. Well, I don't have enough energy to make my lunch. That's mitochondrial dysfunction. Cells don't have energy. Cells can't be the perfect little cell that they're designed to be. I'm going to be a perfect kidney cell for you. No, I don't have enough energy to do that. So here's why the normal processes that happen in our body can actually cause us to age faster because of the toxins buildup. If the cell can't detox because I don't have the fuel, the gas station's closed, I don't have the fuel to do it, cell damage occurs, cells can't repair, they become zombie cells. They're not doing any work. They're just sucking up all your resources, saying, feed me. I'm not doing anything but feed me. And if the cell can't detox, guess where it goes? It stores it in our fat. It stores it in our liver, kidneys, brain. More damage occurs. It leads to this funny word, apoptosis, death of the cell, faster aging. What does the research say about GHK and mitochondrial dysfunction? The GHK copper peptide is a key component of energy production in the mitochondria. It's involved in this enzyme called cytochrome C oxidase. You don't have to remember that, but just know that it's one of the final stages of making energy in your mitochondria. And also, it enhances oxygen or oxygenation or oxygen transport during exercise. That's why most of you who work out and you've been using the patch, the X39 for a while, you go, man, I can just work out a lot longer and I don't get sore. Next topic, cognitive decline. This is actually my area of expertise. I've broken it down into understandable components because most people don't talk about the brain, and so everything's new. So, a slow disappearance of oneself. I want to start with some brain facts. Research shows the average healthy adult loses about 10,000 neurons per day, which totals 3.65 million per year. This decline begins at around the age of 30. We form new neurons at about 700 to 1,500 per day, and they're mostly in the hippocampus, which is memory and learning. And so that's only about 2,500 of that 3.5 that we lose. So I've always asked people, what are you doing to decrease the loss? What are you doing to increase the growth of new neurons? And it's directly related to this peptide. So here's a little chart. Average healthy adult loses about 10,000 a day. We regain about 700, net loss 9,300 per day. Highly active, healthy brain exercise. The person exercises, they're learning new things, they're learning new dances, learning how to play an instrument, reading books, doing puzzles, all of those things. Instead of 10,000, they'll lose about 8,000 a day and regain 1,500. Net loss 6,500 a day. Aging or someone into degenerative decline, they'll lose up to 20,000 a day and only make 300 new ones. So, GHK copper peptide brain mapping study. That's what my board certification is in, brain mapping. Lifewave had an independent study done measuring the electric circuits basically in the brain before the study, during the 6-week study, and then after at the end of the study. And it was measuring brain coherence. Don't get confused by that. Coherence is it's a measurement of the synchronization between two sites. For example, between the right frontal lobe and the left frontal lobe, the right temporal and the left temporal. Mostly side to side, but back to front as well, looking at communication. The left side of the brain does different things than the right side, but they have to talk to each other and say, hey, the left side of the brain says, hey, I see the stripes in the shirt. And the right side, I see the colors. This is what it looks like. The right side of the brain says, I see facial expressions. What do you see? And then we make a complete picture. And so that is called coherence. And that's one of the things they were measuring. So it basically quantifies the degree of interaction or communication and shared information. So coherence, a normal amount is just right. My brain works. Hypercoherence is when brain sites are not functioning in an efficient, interdependent fashion. They have too much crosstalk and they're overly connected or locked together. And let me just tell you, the more areas of the brain you have that are in hypercoherence, the more autistic you are. We are. Everyone is. Just think about that. So hypercoherence, too much. Hypocoherence is called poor inter-site interaction. It's an indication of diminished cognitive efficiency. So this is someone who is in cognitive decline. Hypocoherence is not enough. So here are the maps of the study that was done, of the brains of the study. Just to orient you, this would be where the nose is. This is the top of the brain. All of this red is hypercoherence. Interestingly, halfway through the study, this person's brain overcompensated and went into hypocoherence and then back to more normal readings. This was only 6 weeks of this study. This is what we, in my industry, call brain on fire. This is way overactive hypercoherence, every lobe in this person's body. Interesting, female 67 manual therapist specializing in sacrocranial and massage. Poor thing was helping everybody else, but she was suffering. Session 2, and you see at session 3, you start to see some of the green starting to get more normal coherence between those sites. Again, fully red, and over 6 weeks starts to be normal. All of these people, I'm sure, kept wearing the X39 to help their brains get better. So what does the research say about the role of GHK regarding the brain? The GHK copper peptide, if you don't know what the blood-brain barrier is, it's like a big sieve that is between your blood and the brain, and it is designed to keep large things out like bacteria and other things. It is the GHK copper peptide that transports it like a chaperone through the blood-brain barrier to get it up in the brain where you need it to make neurons, synapses, and neurotransmitters. You also need it to make what's called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. What is that? Well, when you do something every day for a specific amount of time, and it seems to be about a minute, the brain says, she's done this every day for the last 3 days. I think we're going to make some new neurons so she can do it better next time. We'll give her better control by making more neurons connect to the pathways that she needs to fire in order to do that dance move or the golf move, the golf swing. That's what practicing is about. But here's the thing about practice. Your brain doesn't make new neurons while you're practicing. Your brain makes new neurons while you're sleeping. And what it does, it rehearses what you did thousands of times, thereby stimulating the neurons to grow in those places. Isn't that amazing? The brain is so amazing. GHK copper peptide promotes neural progenitor differentiation. So we have these cells in our brain, and it stimulates, hey, you guys be this type of cell and you guys be this type of cell. So neural progenitor differentiation increases neural growth factor, helps you make new neurons. And remember when I said, what are you doing to stop the loss and increase your gains? This is one of the things. Both of these right here help you click or turn the steer the ship into more neuron growth and neuron destruction. It also, there's a study done showing that if somebody has a high amount of GHK copper peptide in their blood, it reduces the swelling if there is an injury. And it also is that this peptide is neuroprotective to help prevent cognitive decline that I showed on the brain mapping. So this is from the literature. The brain mapping was from Lifewave. It's already known in the research that there are neuroprotective properties and it helps prevent that cognitive decline. GHK also has mood stabilizing properties, whether it's in the brain of humans or animals. Some of the studies were actually done on mice, and aggressive mice within 12 minutes got their chill on, and they weren't aggressive. So also this peptide, it beneficially altered in the study the expression of human genes involved in neuron function by 50%. Beneficially, it altered them. It also alleviated neuronal apoptosis and intracerebral hemorrhage. So if someone did get a brain bleed, if they had a high amount of GHK, their brain didn't bleed as much. Most of the time, the damage is not caused from hitting your head, it's from the hemorrhage in your brain. That's where we get the damage. Anti-anxiety. Okay, well, this is why I used the patch as part of my protocols in my former clinic. It checks another box in the brain health space. Why wouldn't you check another box? So we had all of our patients use the patch to help them get their brains better. Stem cell exhaustion. We lose our ability to replace cells that die and that are gone when we lose our stem cell. What does the literature say about this regarding stem cells? It activates the production. So now get this. One of the most important things I'm going to tell you today for you. This peptide is known in the literature to activate the genes that signal your body to make more of your own pluripotent stem cells. And it also helps restore your inactive stem cells in your body to an active state. It directs, the GHK is like a homing signal. It directs and calls in stem cells to damaged tissue, like a beacon. It activates genes associated with stem cell production. I already talked about that. It kickstarts regenerative potential of stem cells. Cardiovascular disease, the #1 killer. #1 cause of death globally. A high fibrinogen level is the #1 predictor of probability of having a stroke, and you are nearly 2.5 times more likely to have a stroke if this is elevated in your bloodstream. Decreased oxygen to the heart muscle causes myocardial infarction. These are all these are heart issues right here. What does the research say about that? Well, GHK keeps fibrinogen synthesis levels normal because it influences a gene that signals your body to make that peptide. So it acts as a modulator. It increases the production of a substance called myostatin by nearly tenfold. Myostatin inhibits heart failure. So you got a more normal fibrinogen level, and you have a more normal level myostatin level. Fibrinogen, increase in fibrinogen can cause stroke. Increase in myostatin can inhibit heart failure. And this is a really important concept for you to get. So myocardial infarction means what? We didn't have enough oxygen to the heart muscle. Well, the GHK copper peptide is involved in the system or the process that occurs when your brain senses there's hypoxia in either your heart or your skeletal muscles, the muscles in your body that move your bones around. And what happens is the GHK is activated and it goes out on site and it basically directs the process. Hey, we need some enzymes in here. It activates these enzymes that actually dissolve holes into the muscle and then causes rapid infiltration of these little capillaries to bring blood flow, more blood flow into a muscle, whether it's your heart muscle or your skeletal muscle. And your skeletal muscle will be you're working out and you're doing that 12th rep of bicep curls, and then your muscles just start burning. That burn, hypoxia, signals your brain to send down GHK and start that process and get it moving so that you can build bigger muscles so that you can lift muscle without getting that burn. And so that's involved in muscle growth. There have been a few studies that haven't been really definitive, but a lot of people think that GHK is one of the biggie things in actually developing muscle growth. GHK in heart health helps prevent blood from clotting too much. That's the effect on fibrinogen. It helps repair collagen and elastin, which restores integrity to blood vessels. I want to ask you a question. When does somebody find out they had a burst aortic aneurysm? They actually don't. Their family finds out. That's what took my brother-in-law out 15 years ago. He was getting ready to go work out. His aorta, the inside wall split and blood split right down the middle of his aorta all the way down into his legs. Gone. So if somebody has a strong yet flexible aorta, it makes sense that they're not going to have an aortic aneurysm later, because if the wall is weak, you'll get a ballooning out. That's an aneurysm. If the elastin is weak, it's going to balloon out. So I asked people the question, wouldn't it be better to not even know what's happening, but your cardiovascular system is continually being repaired and replaced with strong collagen and strong elastin, so it's strong yet flexible? Wouldn't that have a wonderful effect on blood pressure regulation? And wouldn't it be great to not ever have to have your family find out that you had an aortic aneurysm that burst? So think long term. I'm not making promises on your cardiovascular system, but this is what the research shows. It helps you form strong, it helps repair the collagen, and it helps repair the elastin. Both of those will help your system. It will bode well for you later in life. Helps to prevent the oxidation of LDL, so it decreases the risk of atherosclerosis. This is all in the literature, not my opinion. So Lifewave did an organ function study. It was over 6 weeks using the X39. They did all kinds of measurements, traditional, non-traditional. And what they found is that after 6 weeks of wearing the patch, the cardiovascular systems acted, it's another way of saying reversed age, acted 2 months younger. So I did the math. For every day you wear the patch, the cardiovascular systems in this study got a day and a third younger. You're going to find out how that played out for me in just a few minutes. Okay, cancer. Number 2 killer, or maybe number 1 killer now over the last 3 years with what's happened. Cancer. Number 2 killer globally. When I made this slide, the incidence is rapidly increasing globally, like turbo cancers. What does this research say about GHK and cancer? No claims are made regarding cancer or fast-growing cells. However, this is what the research shows, not my opinion. GHK and cancer, it resets the programmed cellular death cycle in several different types of cancer. It inhibits 25 genes that are associated with the predisposition to get cancer, and it helps repair DNA. Remember when we talked about DNA damage? It helps repair DNA so the cancers can't form. So if you have DNA that's mutated or altered or damaged, and that cell replicates and it passes on that mutation, then there's a chance that that cell can turn into a cancer cell. So the clock is ticking. How do we get the GHK copper peptide? Well, a buddy of mine who wrote the book, A Better Way to Treat Cancer, he and I were in the same clinic together, and he does alternative cancer care here in our city in Boise. He does infusions of the GHK copper peptide in his cancer protocols because of their anti-cancer properties. You can get injections. It stings like heck. I haven't done it, but a friend of mine did it before she heard about the patch. She said, I'm so glad to use the patch because it really stings when you inject it. You can get it in products from dermatologists, creams, lotions. Dermatologists were actually the first ones to embrace this peptide and use it in their products. Or there's this new innovative phototherapy patch called the GHK, or excuse me, the X39. It activates your own production of GHK copper peptide. And the great thing is, it doesn't send you a bill for making it. It just makes it for you. You don't get a bill in the mail and EOB from your insurance company. It just does it. So I looked at it like this when I started digging through the research. Lifewave, I'm going to tell you about this study. Lifewave had an independent study done that showed that wearing the patch elevates GHK copper peptide. So I thought, in order to determine any potential benefit of wearing the patch, you just turn to the literature. The research started 27 years before Lifewave was even formed. David Schmidt targeted being able to figure out a way to raise GHK because it activates stem cell production. So we don't have to say the X39 does this or that because it actually does not do this or that. What it does, it elevates GHK. Okay, GHK, we know what that does. Talk about that. This study was published in March of 2021 in the Internal Medicine Research, Volume 6, Issue 1. The study was a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial that explored the impact of wearing the X39 non-transdermal photobiomodulation patch over a period of 1 week on the level of GHK-Cu, peptide in the blood. And some people say, well, why was it only 1 week? I'll tell you why. So this is the paper that was presented to the US Patent Office in order to receive the patent for the X39 technology. Here's what they did. 60 people randomized into two groups. One tube was drawn from each one. More blood was taken at 24 hours and 7 days. Very interesting thing happened is that over 24 hours, there wasn't a huge raise in GHK. On the 7th day, there was a huge increase in GHK. That was the study. How does it work? Well, the little white stuff in the patch is made of organic nanocrystals. Don't think of nanobots. It's nothing like that. It's just really small crystals. It's a crystal structure that doesn't exist in nature. It was invented by David Schmidt, and it's formulated to activate your body's production of that copper peptide, which reactivates your own production of stem cells. So what happens when you place it on your skin? In order to understand that, I want you to look at this slide. This is sunlight coming in. This is your skin. The UVB rays hit the little nano antennas in our skin, and the God-given sensors in our skin to discern frequencies. These are the same sensors when you walk into a room, and we all do it. You're not going to be able to unhear this. You're all going to do it when you're going to, yep, Dr. Harmon was right. We scan the room for threats and friendlies. We're looking for people we know, but we're also looking for threats. And then there's that one guy, oh man, oh, I get bad vibes from that guy. What are vibes? Frequencies. Bad frequencies hitting your little nano antennas in your skin sends up an alarm. Don't go, don't go. This is why I've always taught parents when they bring their child in for something, and I'm doing the initial consultation, I would say something like this: never make your child hug Uncle Bobby if they don't want to hug Uncle Bobby. You're teaching the child to not trust their instincts, their God-given gift to protect themselves. So just say, okay, maybe next time. It's good. Notice this right here. This is what your body makes vitamin D from. Do you see the cholesterol? So if anybody ever tells you that cholesterol is somehow harmful, I want you to ask yourself this question, okay, whether you believe in um, I don't believe in it. So whether you believe in God or natural progression, evolution, that's the word I was trying to think of. Whether you believe in evolution or you believe in God, the creation, why would God or evolution create livers to make something that's going to kill us? I mean, think about that. All of your hormones are made of cholesterol. Testosterone, estrogen, insulin uh, starts as cholesterol. Vitamin D, the most important vitamin, is more like a hormone. So if you're taking a statin drug, reconsider. I always told my patients, hey, if you want to have Alzheimer's when you're older, take a statin drug. If you want to have ED as a man, take a statin drug. If you want to have diabetes, take a statin drug. If you want your joints and your muscles to hurt, take a statin drug. That's all I'm going to say. Maybe we can talk about that another time. So here's how it works. Say you go into a jewelry store, you walk up to the diamond cabinet and you see all these colors. What is that? Well, the facets of the diamond, the way it reflects certain frequencies of light, it separates out the white light into the individual wavelengths that appear in our eyes as color. Similarly, your body is the bright white light. We glow, we emit frequencies of light. Researchers figured out in 2009 that we glow throughout the day. Our eyes can't pick it up, but machinery and computers can pick it up. So our body is the light source for this patch. Part of the frequencies we emit are reflected back into us. That frequency of light signals that pathway, much like sunlight does hitting your skin. Your body gets the message, vitamin D, time to make more vitamin D. It's changing the channel on the same radio, and we get a different station. We make GHK. That's how they work. We place them on specific points of the body. This is the white crystal, flat crystal structure made out of salts, amino acids, stabilized oxygen. Don't ever cut the patch and think you're going to get a half a dose. It introduces other things into the crystal structure, oxygen, nitrogen, and other things, maybe pollution. You don't want to do that. We put them on, the reason they did them on these points is because these acupuncture points are known globally. You just say the name of it and everybody knows where to put it. You can put them anywhere on your body. So what happens? Sometimes like really rapid pain relief, reduced inflammation, supports wound healing, energy, vitality, mental clarity, enhances sport performance, faster recovery from exercise, improves skin. So we wear it 12 hours on, 12 hours off because the bucket is full after 12 hours. It can't make it more full, and the body stops responding, and then it responds again new the next day, 12 hours later. Athletes all over the world are using them. Here, this looks like the Chicago Bears. Um, uh, Lifewave patches were used by the U.S. men's Olympic swim team when they beat all the Aussies in 2004. Sorry, but they were using these patches and got accused of doping. There was no doping after the world and the U.S. doping agencies investigated. So sports teams start, man, this is legal um, support for our supporting our athletic performance. The Dallas Cowboys started using them about 2 years later after the U.S. men's Olympic swim team in many sports. Here's the men's swim team. David Beckham, lots of athletes. The Beijing Olympics, there were over 300 athletes using them. This is near and dear to my heart. As a little boy, got the fingertip cut off. The dad said, I want you to sew it back on because I have this patch. And the surgeon said, I'm not going to sew it back on. It's going to die. Well, this is the black of necrosis. It died, but the dad had the patch. The fingertip grew back or reattached because remember, the GHK rapid enzymatic holes into the damaged tissue. Capillaries grow really fast. You get perfusion, blood flow, oxygen back into that fingertip. Save the fingertip. Here's skin changes. They call these liver spots, but they have nothing to do with the liver. It's melanin pigment. But notice the skin changes that have happened in this guy. This woman was having 25 apnea events in an hour. It dropped to 6.5. And she said, and today there were 5.5, but she looks a lot healthier and happier. This guy calls them fast growing cells, stubborn cells, he said, on his nose and here. And this is before starting the patches, June 23rd, 2024, August, 2 months later, 2024, skin is much, much better. The friend of mine, I actually interviewed him last night. This is what he looked like before. This is what he looks like now. Just a huge difference. September 2021, March 2023. Hair changes get pretty dang exciting for people. Hair regrowth as well. Um, the GHK supports collagen repair, but also collagen destruction. Why would one want to destroy collagen? Well, it's the cross linkages that make scars stiff and painful and immovable sometimes. And it actually breaks those cross linkages and scars start to smooth out. I talked to a woman yesterday, and it was her husband who noticed the C-section scar. He said, "What happened to your scar?" And it was only 2 months of patching. You couldn't see it anymore. It was crazy. This gal, 93 years old, talks about all of the benefits she had. No more GERD, neuropathy or arthritis, discomfort, insomnia, atrial fibrillation, huge changes in her. And she's just so much healthier than she was. This little guy got stung by a bee overnight using the patch. Swelling is gone. It just rapidly accelerates everything. The company can't recommend them for pets because no studies have been done. But a friend of mine saw this in the dog's eye and used the X39 and poof. This is me before. This is my photo, my last headshot. Um, Changes have happened for me. My hair started turning back to brown from back to front. This was about 2 years into using the X39. This friend of mine can hardly even see where that was anymore. So long-term results to expect, the first few days, those genes start to repair. Within 6 weeks, brain starts to become more balanced. Symptoms of PTSD, anxiety, and depression can be helped. Collagen is increased, decreases wrinkles, increases hair regrowth. Heart reverses in age, a day and a third for every day you wear the patch. Briefly, I'm going to talk about, I talked about that organ function study, but it's in relation to what happened for me. And this is what motivated me to write the book, is that I had, unbeknownst to me, I knew I had something with my heart. I didn't know what it was. And I'd been using the X39 for 4.5 months before I even had the first stress echo done. If you don't know what a right bundle branch block is, it's associated with an increased risk of, look at this, all cause mortality, and indicates a poorer prognosis in patients with a myocardial infarction. So that was my future prior to using the X39. No matter what you have, it gets worse if you have an RBBB. It has to do with the electricity to the right ventricle. Here's the right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. The blood comes into this chamber, goes down to this one. This one pumps it out to the lungs, gets oxygen, comes back to this chamber, and then goes back to here, and then out to the heart. So this is the timeline. I first noticed the PVCs that I had when I was in high school. And it was just like this weird fluttering. It would skip a beat every once in a while. Not a big deal. Didn't bother me when I was running. I was a long distance runner. I loved running because I didn't have those things when I was running. April 2020, I started using X39, placed one on my neck and one on my heart. August, the PVCs changed. They became really rhythmic every fifth beat, day and night. I'd lie there in bed and I'd tell my wife, man, it's every fifth beat. It's driving me crazy. So we thought something was going on with my heart, and I had this knee replacement surgery coming up in August. So the doc said, we need to find out what that is. Had a stress echo. That's when I first found out that I had a right bundle branch block. And I look back and I go, man, I've been using these for 4.5 months. Why hasn't it cured me already? After all, it's been 4.5 months. I can tell my stem cells where to go. I always tell people, don't try to tell your stem cells where to go. They're like teenagers. You can't tell them where to go. 2 weeks later, PVCs were gone. So I think they were starting to get into a normal rhythm, but they were all misfiring at the same time. That's my theory. Then, well, here's the test. Right sinus rhythm with RBBB. This is compatible with a right bundle branch block. A year and a half later, I had my second test. I'm going to zoom in right there. Right bundle branch block is no longer present. Two different doctors have said, we've never seen one of those go away. Then I got this on the app, the MyChart app. Everything looks great. Your study was normal with no issues noted. So I want to ask you a question. How passionate do you think I am about sharing these patches with people? How do you think I feel now at 71, and I no longer have something that could take me out no matter what I came down with or got? I'll tell you what the word is, it's gratitude. I'm so grateful for Lifewave. I'm so glad I listened to my friend. I'm so glad I didn't give up after 4.5 months when it didn't heal me already. And I've been using them ever since. I love this slide because it kind of depicts what this whole thing is about. I saw this slide years ago and I put it in one of my other PowerPoint presentations. You've always had the power, my dear. You just had to learn it for yourself. So the power, the energy that powers this patch comes from you. It's energy you already have that, by the way, you're wasting if you don't wear the X39, because it doesn't get reflected back into your body at a specific frequency and turn on your ability to make GHK-copper peptide. So listen to Glenda, the good witch. You've always had the power. So I love this slide. I figured out what I want to be when I get older. I want to be younger, and I feel like I have gotten younger since I started using them. So I want to tell everybody on the call, if you haven't used the X39, you need to get patched. Get one of these on your body. Are you going to feel something right away? I don't know. Some people don't notice a lot. I didn't notice a lot, but the right bundle branch block in my heart went away over a period of 2 years. So it was worth it. Just think of all the healthcare costs I saved for me and my family. This was for the Lifewave convention. So here are the codes if you want to have record of them. It's a little tougher getting them sent to Australia or somewhere outside of the United States. I would recommend going on Amazon if you want to get one of those, and then I can sign it for you at next convention, whatever you want. So it's my hope that you have a lot more meat. You don't think you have to be the doctor, but go through, if you have the book, go through the chapters, get a couple of bullet points for each one of those 18 chapters so that you can just fluently, uh, eloquently explain to that doctor who's trying to trip you up a little bit, and then you stay in the conversation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harmon. It's be such an amazing way to be able to talk to doctors, physios, chiros, any allied health. Yeah, it's just gives us a little bit more to add to what we've got. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Misha wanted to speak because she has to leave, and I do have a few questions if we've got time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Mish.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Ness. Thanks, John. That was absolutely amazing. And one of the things I would really love to acknowledge you is before I have to race off, I've got a meeting. But just that when I first started my patching journey back in January of 2023, really, really early on, I came across as a video that you did around, I think it was the science of GHK-Cu.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was sharing my little heart out here, and a lot of my buddies and my friends are in very, very much in the wellness laneway. So I was sharing that. And the other one that I recall was you had a doctor's call back at the time. I think I saw it about April of 2023. I came across it. So I wanted to thank you so much from all of us here in Australia and the Kiwis that we've been able to lean into a lot of the stuff that you've been doing and sharing back at that time when we knew nothing. And it's you're a great guy, you're great fun and I'm sure that the guys when they meet you on the trips will really enjoy it. And I just want to thank you for helping tool us up for everybody when they go and see their practitioner and get some of those really curly questions.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. It means a lot when people come up at the convention and say, I don't know them, and they say, "Hey, thank you. You've helped me on my journey." I mean, that's why I did it. I wanted everybody to know how powerful this really is. And once you know a little of the science, man, you build the belief even bigger.
Yeah, and you definitely are. You're a product of David Schmidt shining the light, and you're shining it as well. So thank you so
Well,
much,
thank you.
and thank you, Ness. That's it's been amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Misha. So one of the questions we had was, how do we know what levels of copper we have and if they're helpful for stem cell activation, or do we not have enough copper? What are the testing and the numbers? Any ideas there?
Well, you can get tested for copper, see if your copper is low. If you're eating green leafy vegetables, the chances are you have adequate copper in order for your body to make copper peptide. Once you get the Cellergize Morning, the powder supplement, David designed that so that it gives your body all of the components you need to make any of the peptides that the patches are stimulating your body to make. So also a really easy way of getting your copper is You probably have it on Amazon down there. We have it here. Get some organic chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is, I call it plant blood, but you just take a dropper full, put it in some water. It's hardly, you can't even hardly taste it, but you're going to get ample copper that way. You don't need to take a pill. I love the natural form. You know, people say, how much copper should I take? I say, I don't dose people with copper. I just tell them to take chlorophyll. It's better to get the natural in the natural state than a synthetic supplement.
Great, that's great. The same person has asked, I've been told with my, I don't know if you pronounce it pyrols or pyrols, and MTHFR that copper tends to be too high, while zinc, magnesium low. They can imbalance each other. I know there's a copper zinc connection. What happens if we have too much happen to have too much copper?
And that's where the copper zinc balance gets off. When people start, because this is why I don't have people take a supplement, because you can get in trouble much faster from taking a supplement that has a high amount of copper, that you'd have to eat a lot of food in order to get that much copper. That's why I say stick with chlorophyll. So copper is involved in the absorption of iron out of the gut. Copper is involved in the transport of iron in hemoglobin. So it's essential to not disrupt, not take high doses of zinc. You know, you have to monitor how much zinc am I taking compared to how much copper. You don't want to get off on that zinc copper balance. People can have anemia. You know, the doctor's looking at hemoglobin and all these different things, but doesn't know that you're taking way too much zinc. And the problem is zinc and copper compete for the same absorption site on your cells in your gut. They're in competition. So he who has the most wins the tug of war, so to speak. So if you have way more zinc than you have copper, you're going to absorb way more zinc than you are copper. It's just the law of averages. So the natural form is much, much better.
Right, thank you. And I have another question. What is your take on using the patches alongside other age-reversing therapies like red light, fasting, things like that?
Funny you should ask. In the book, it talks about how a high level of GHK enhances all of those therapies, red light therapy, laser therapy. It enhances those. So you get a 20 or 30% increase in the benefit from those if you're using the patch. And that you can look that up in the book as well, because I talked about that. That's one of the things that I was so pleased about, because we have an infrared sauna, and that's one of my favorite places to be, the detox. I don't know if you know this, but in one infrared sauna session, you can detox more than doing binders and detox pills for 3 days with an infrared sauna. So wearing the X39 enhances that experience. And how would I get it to stick on my skin if I'm sweating? Not very well, but you can just put it underneath your leg where you're sitting. It doesn't have to be stuck to your neck. The non-adhesive side is just the opposite side of the same substance, so it really doesn't matter if the patch is sticking to your skin or in your pocket or just stuck to your collar. It'll do the same thing. I don't even wear them on my skin. David says 1 in 10,000 will be allergic to it. Pick me, pick me. And so I just wear them like I have my X39 here back on the back of my collar. I just put them on my clothing, or you can put it in your pocket. It will still work as long as it's within 3 inches of your skin.
That's amazing. Someone's asked here on the chat, is it best to go to a lab to test my telomeres and also level of, do they test for GHK-U?
You know, I contacted a lab that I used to order a lot of labs from, and I said, "Hey, can you design saliva strip to test for GHK?" And they said, "We'll get back to you." So about 2 weeks later, they called back and they said, "There's not a big enough market for it." I said, "You don't know Lifewave. You would sell them all." And they wouldn't do it. I've never heard of a test for GHK, um, like from a lab. And then what was your other question? Sorry. The level of GHK. Oh, telomeres.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can contact different labs will do it. They'll measure it if that's what you're interested in. There's a test that you can do that does all kinds of measurements and gives you your biological age. And then you can, before you start on your LifeWave journey, and then measure it later. I didn't do any of that. It was just it's during COVID, and I just wanted to get started using it. And you really couldn't go to a lot of different places anyway, like labs. People go in the hospital to die during that time.
A question that probably gets asked a lot is cancer, whether to be using patches at the same time of therapies or not.
Oh, they can. They can use any of the patches at the same time. As you know, we don't treat cancer, but there is some support with going through those cancer therapies. Some of them are involving light. Some of the newer cancer treatments, like my friend Dr. Carlfeld, um, wrote that book, A Better Way to Treat Cancer, and they use some light therapies, like in the blood, in the bloodstream, on the body, and those are enhanced. Plus, it helps reset the cellular death cycle, like I mentioned, and it also turns off those 25 cancer genes that someone can be born with that predispose them to get cancer. But also, if you are regenerating, repairing, and supporting your body during that cancer, during those treatments, there are a couple things somebody wants to be aware of. Cancer, like chemo and radiation, are designed to kill stuff. The X39 is regenerative in nature, kind of working against each other. So during chemo and during radiation, I would, if that's the route people choose, do that. When you're done, use the patches, because you don't want to be working against what they're trying to do. They want to raise the poison level or the radiation enough to kill the very active cells, but not the rest of you. Unfortunately, a lot of times some of our parts and pieces and tissues get destroyed as well.
Right. Do we have time for any more questions, or would you like to wind it up?
Well, I don't want to make it too long, and it's too long
No.
for people. Um, but if you have any pressing questions,
Does anyone have a pressing question?
Sorry, I do.
Thanks. Yep.
So I have to see my cardiologist tomorrow. Because I had a couple of strokes and I've apparently inherited my dad's heart, and I have a blocked, not a main road, but a side road in around my heart. Would I be best to be using just X39, X49, or is it best to add carnosine or glutathione?
yes and yes. Carnosine increases contractility of cardiac muscle and skeletal muscle.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a cardiologist here in the States. He has 2 peer-reviewed studies using the carnosine patch, and he's actually presenting it to the American Heart Association.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where would you wear that?
I would place the carnosine right over my heart.
Yeah, and that's what I've actually done today. I just wanted to see
Yeah.
your opinion on
In fact,
it.
in his study, he was measuring ventricular ejection fraction, and he put 6 carnosine patches right around the heart. And within like 4 minutes, you got this 14% increase in ventricular ejection fraction, which
Okay.
means more of the 14% more of the blood that's coming into the left ventricle is actually exiting the left ventricle instead of backing up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's our carnosine patch. Google carnosine. What does carnosine do?
Yeah.
Well, it lowers high blood pressure, it lowers high cholesterol,
Yeah.
it helps maintain the heart, increases contractility of the heart muscle. It also has a lot to do with the brain. The brain makes carnosine, but as we age, it doesn't make as much.
Okay.
And so carnosine is really good for the brain as well.
And the glutathione?
Glutathione is the master immune switch, the master antioxidant. I use it almost every day. Glutathione, if you think of oxidative stress, what happens is electrons get lost somewhere or they get stolen. Bacteria, viruses cause oxidative stress. Just stress in and of itself causes, where did my screen go? Uh-oh. Are you still there? Oh, good. I didn't lose you. I hit the mouse and something happened. Uh, so oxidative stress in the body means that a cell, a molecule in a cell loses electrons. They get stolen. Electrons, that's the energy of the cell, right? And you have to have balance. If electrons get kicked out, it's trying to take that cell will try to get electrons from another cell. It's glutathione that replaces those.
Okay.
It's the donor. It's antioxidant. It's the lens and the cornea are rich in glutathione because of the ionizing rays of the sun. So the doctor will say sunlight causes cataracts. My question is it a poor diet that has no glutathione? You don't have any glutathione, and so the glutathione in my lens can't put the electrons back. That's why I get cataracts. What is it? Is it sunlight? I don't think so. I think it's poor diet. My personal opinion. I don't even wear sunglasses anymore when I found out that it's telling your body it's nighttime. I don't need to make melanin to protect you from the sun, increasing your chances of cancer, skin cancer, because the natural protective system doesn't go into place because I'm blocking the sun. It's the sun that tells my pineal gland and my eyes that it's nighttime. So
Ah.
you don't need to block you don't need melanin in your skin. So I stopped wearing sunglasses, stopped using sunscreen 5 years ago. We've gone to every incentive trip that Lifewave has had, Cancun, Aruba, and the sun, I don't know if you know this, but men have androgen receptors in their upper traps that are receptors that signal your body to make more testosterone. The sun, you don't just get vitamin D, you get a lot of different hormones from the sun. So anyway, that's another topic. Sorry. I love talking
I
about this
love
stuff
it.
because so people, we're indoctrinated on these silly, stupid things like cholesterol. It was based on a flawed study in the 70s. It has no validity. They pulled that number out of their butt, the level that your cholesterol should be. And the same thing is true with sunlight and salt. They tell you not to, you got to avoid salt. If you don't have salt, your kidneys can't work. If you call an ambulance, the first thing they do is hook you up to a salt bag that gives you half of your recommended daily allowance. If you're at risk of heart failure, they give you 2 bags of salt. The reason they tell you not to eat salt is they want you to have to take the prescription salt called LASIK. Taking Celtic salt every day will help you avoid a lot of things. Your kidneys will work better, your blood pressure will be better, and lots of other things.
we'll quickly get on to Liz, and then we have a question on epilepsy. Celtic salt, great for migraines, people. You need salt.
Yep.
Liz? And tell me she just dropped out. Are you there, darling?
Hopefully I didn't offend her with my comment about cholesterol.
No, sorry. No. Sorry if it's a bit noisy. I'm in the middle of a shopping centre. My daughter had stage 3 breast cancer. She had 1 round of chemo and couldn't tolerate it, so stopped it. She's been patching. She also is following a diet from a doctor over the States, where she's gone off all meat products, and she's taken some tablets from a naturopath. But cancer has virtually disappeared. She was really sore and she'd been misdiagnosed for 12 months. The soreness was all gone. So you convert, so between patching and the others, it's virtually gone. So I'm sure the patching's helped quite a bit.
Did you have a question, Liz?
No, I was just talking about the patching and not. I was just saying that it's helped.
Great, thank you. That's awesome. That's wonderful that it's helped. Thanks, darling. And there was a question, Doctor, on epilepsy, and we'll finish there.
Yeah.
Well, we don't really do any like treatment specifically for any disorder, but I would just recommend X39. There's so much information about how it benefits the brain that I had to break it up into 3 full chapters in the book on the brain. The rest of the organ systems have 1 chapter. I don't personally have any stories, any testimonials about epilepsy, specifically just using the patches, but you might be able to search on some of the Telegram threads where people have done recordings of people getting benefit from using the patches for epilepsy.
Thanks.
Well, hope this was beneficial for you all. And now you'll have a recording you can rewatch and just get more and more information so that you can go toe to toe with those analytical doctors.
That's so true. Thank you so much for your wealth of information, your knowledge, and giving us your time tonight for you. Yeah, it was amazing, and I really, really, really appreciate you coming on and
You're welcome.
Aussies. And I hope to meet you next year.
Yes, plan on going to the conference. It's going to be epic, just like this year.
Yeah.
But each year just gets bigger and better. And, you know, the cool thing is we're all really like-minded people. You know, we're on this journey together. Well, I wish you guys the best. You're starting your day. Ours is ending. And
we're in the middle of the day. It's 3:30 p.m. here. But yeah.
Oh, not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're 3:30 tomorrow for us.
Yes.
All right. Well, have a good day, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you from everyone.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
See you later.